in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael New Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last thoughts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show on Echo. Sorry about that. This has been kind of a crazy day. Sorry for the slight delay in going live today. Usually we don't have an excuse. I have a valid one today. Long story short, California passed a law a couple of years ago that if your building is older than X number of years, you have to retrofit it for earthquakes, because if you didn't know, California is going to slowly fall apart by earthquakes.
Every now and then.
Yeah, so anyways, the building retrofit program started on our building, and then the pandemic hit, and then they shut down for forever, and they just decided to start doing the work again, and they're doing the noisiest parts right as we're about to record. So I was like, as soon as it started, we were about to go recording, the noise kicked in, so I was running around the house trying to figure out, is it any quieter here? It's not, so I apologize for the construction noise. If it gets bad, I'll try and mute myself in advance, but just a heads up, it might be a little noisier than usual, but that's how my day's going. Your day's going pretty damn well, I heard.
yeah, today was fun.
Wait, what is this? Yeah,
it was fun. I was texting with Aaron. I just sent him $20 for drinks to celebrate. Yeah, it was good. I hit the late pick 5 and the pick 6 at Gulfstream, so that was a good thing. I had it a couple times too, so that was a nice little way to end the Gulfstream day. I've been trying to chase the second seat. Like, the best thing I saw, I'm going to spoil it, the big tournament on horse tourneys this weekend. I talked about it last time. I have one seat and trying to get a second seat in there. Probably just buy my way in if I don't get it. But it's over, I think it's like $350,000 in the prize pool now. So if you want to get involved, there's still one more day to qualify tomorrow on horse tourneys. They're running $58 and $26 qualifiers into the $118 and the $300 and $50 qualifiers for seats tomorrow as well. So go after your seat, try and get it. There's a huge pool. There's going to be a live show that Sport of Kings is doing both days. So it should be a lot of fun this weekend playing on horse tourneys in what's going to probably be the second or third largest online tournament this year in horse racing.
That's crazy. And you know what's great about that, Mike, is that it's kind of the doldrums still. We're slowly ramping things up towards, the Kentucky Derby Trail, the Kentucky Oaks Trail. The Breeders' Cup happened, and everybody's still kind of taking a little bit of a break. So it doesn't seem like there's a lot of exciting things happening in horse racing. Pegasus is still a few weeks away. But the horse players, it is like, this is game on right now.
Yeah.
This is getting ready for it.
I mean, this is they're doing essentially a triple crown on this online tournament. So there's one now, there's one in the summer, there's going to be one in the fall, this Saturday's turned out to be a huge racing day too. I mean, not only do you have this big time tournament, Gulfstream Park has a mandatory payout on their pick 6 on Saturday, so everyone's going to be chasing that Saturday afternoon. It's going to be probably a $5-6 million pool. Then Saturday night, we're covering the Sam Houston late pick 4. Everyone's attention is going to turn over to Sam Houston. We're going to have a $500,000 to $1 million pool in the pick 6 at Sam Houston. I wouldn't be shocked if people really send it in. There's nothing else going on in horse racing. You've got a fairly good card, which is pretty difficult. We'll get into it here shortly. And you're going to have a monster pick 6 pool.
This is this race. The sequence was fun until the last race, and all of a sudden I was like, all those times I've ever bitched about the low-level New York-bred claimers that end the cards at Belmont, Saratoga, Aqueduct. Good Lord, I would kill for one of those to end this sequence, because I got to this one and I literally said, I have no idea what the bleep to do. So race 10, Saturday at Sam Houston, if you want to talk about just grabbing a handful of darts and just going, and seeing what sticks, that's how I handicap this race.
I got a 15-1 I really like in that race. I'm actually pretty excited about it. It's a classic bomb race, though. Because if you haven't looked at the card, get ready. It's fun. It's a low-level maiden claimer, or low-level maiden special weight, but it should be a maiden claimer based on the way a lot of these horses ran. You have 2 or 3 first-time starters, one that looks decent, the other one that is going to take a ton of money and is a Barnford that's not very good first time out, and is all drawn all the way to the outside. So it's just one of those races where you're really stretching to find form, or you're looking at first-time starters that aren't that likely to pop. So I'm excited to talk about that last race. I thought you had to spread, but I like a 15-1 shot, so that's a good thing.
I'll be honest. I went 4 deep because I got to this race I looked at the conditions. I just did a quick glance at the field, and then I went back and looked at the other three. And I was like, can I single anywhere here? Because if I had the ability to do the all button, this race was made for the all button. And I'm serious, if you have a strong opinion earlier in this card, or you can go deeper, more expensive with your tickets, hit the damn all button in this race, because with all of the money that's going to be pouring into these sequences, the pick 4, pick 5, pick 6, you do not want to get into that last race and have a 30-1 morning line horse that wins, and you're looking at all this money being paid out, and you're like, I was so close. I should have just listened to Magic and hit the all button.
Well, it's going to be one of those 30-1 shots that go off at like 8-1 too, and you just didn't know the steam was there because who knows on the Sam Houston backside how that information got out or what trainer really liked it. But it's going to be a fun night, man. The pools are going to be big. You have that 12% takeout. It's one of the reasons we keep pumping Sam Houston. 12% takeout in every multi-race bet. So it's a great place to vote with your dollar and put that money into a track that's doing it right by the players. And yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm pumped to have Sam Houston back tomorrow. I'm pumped for this tournament. I'm pumped for Gulfstream. It's going to be a good horse racing weekend, man. It's like the first weekend in January, 2021, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're having a good start to the to 2021. Maybe some other people are like, "Where's the reset button?" This wasn't 2020 was supposed to be the shit year. Where's the reset button around here? No, I'm excited for you. The best thing that I saw, I'm gonna give a shout out to a good friend of the Racing Dudes team, John White. He did his annual top 10 or top 10 thoroughbred performances of 2020. That's where the 20 came in my mind. And it was nice to go back and look and see this is what some of the stuff that we forgot about that happened earlier in the year. Like he has wins for Go Victory as I think 4th. And I was like, wow. I mean, I remember it was impressive, but 4th best race that he saw of a thoroughbred of the year. So I went and watched the replay and I was like, holy shit, that's right. Like he's not on the screen until they're halfway down the stretch and then he just zooms by. And in John's article, this is why I love John's writing, is he explains that there was this horse named Silky Sullivan in the late 50s who was, if you think that win came from the clouds or that Zenyatta or Winx would just make you chew your nails off every race because you didn't know if you were going to get there. This horse once won a race at Santa Anita Park. There was like a 6-furlong sprint. He was 41 lengths behind. 4-1 lengths behind the leader. He was 25. The jockey estimated he was 25 lengths behind the second to last horse. And he's like, I didn't think he was going to even finish in the money. And that horse, like, when he goes in the turn, all of a sudden it's like he is running and everybody else is out for a jog. It's like if you see the early morning training videos where horses are just kind of like galloping and then there's the one horse working. That's what it looked like. And so I retweeted it. I encourage you to go check it out. His Twitter page is twitter.com/posttimejohn with no H. Check out the article. It's a good overview of the 10 best performances of the year. But that nugget about Silky Sullivan, man, I was like, Jesus Christ, I could never want to bet on that horse ever.
I probably waste an hour a week going back and watching races, like old school races. I've never seen the Silky Sullivan race, so I'll have to go back and check that one out. But I have some classics I just go to. I love watching old races and seeing some of those horses just run their feet off. Like it's amazing to see how some of them ran back in the older days.
It's just crazy. So go check that out. Anyways, on today's show, we're excited. If you didn't catch it with Mike's voice, we're excited to be back at Sam Houston Raceway Park. The start of their meet is actually Friday. Saturday is the big first day of racing action they have. We're looking at the late pick 4 sequence. If you want to know more insight about the overall pick 6, which as Mike said is going to be a big payout, Dr. Miranda is going to preview the first 2 legs of the pick 6 sequence on her show tomorrow morning, so check back on the Racing Dudes YouTube page. We'll have that posted for you, and I'm also going to post an article on racingdudes.com real quick, just kind of giving an overview. So go check that out. We will have the entire pick 6 sequence covered for you guys. So you got that to look forward to as well.
It's going to be fun tomorrow night, too. I'm just going to throw this out there. We're doing a special Blinkers Off tomorrow that I'm going to be on. It's going to be a D-Gen after-hour dark night. It's going to be fun. We're going to talk about the NFL guys. And then we're also going to take a look at Sam Houston's late pick 4 on opening night and also answer any questions you have about races over the weekend. So make sure you're ready to check that out tomorrow night. I think it's like 10 p.m. Eastern on the Racing Dudes channel for the special Blinkers Off D-Gen hour, too.
Yeah, this is what Blinkers Off is going to be this week. So there really isn't that much racing action as far as big stakes for them to cover. So was it you who suggested just doing let's just do an NFL preview and tie that in with Blinkers Off?
Yeah, man, the weekend games are so good. They're like incredible. And so I wanted to spend some time talking about them. I've had a good NFL year, and I thought we should chat it up about some of these NFL games, and threw it out there, and they jumped all over it. And it turned out 10 o'clock on Friday was the time to do it, which also happens to be the late pick 4 opening night at Sam Houston. So we'll have tickets for that as well, and just talk about some horses and some football for about an hour tomorrow night at 10.
Speaking of football, I didn't get this info until it was like 5 minutes after we got off of the Monday stream. But Wise Dan, our good friend, the guy who got me to horse racing in the first place, let's just say it's really nice that he's a lot better at picking football against the spread than he is drafting horses in the fantasy league. This guy won a super contest league. I found out that he was in where he's picking against the spread 5 games each week, and he got it was like a mini version of the super contest. They basically covered this, had the same rules and everything. Buy-in was a lot lower, but he ended up with top prize, I think, was just a tick under $3,000. Plus, there was a donation that ended up going to Make-A-Wish Foundation, I think, out of that as well as part of the agreement for everybody buying in. So I wanted to give him a quick shout out as well, because we tease him a lot about his horse racing picks and bets. But when it comes to football, Dan knows what the hell he's doing.
Love it. Congratulations, Dan.
Perfect. With that, let's go to Sam Houston, Mike. Riders up. I totally forgot until Dennis posted it. He's not on any horses. Do you know about this?
No. Oh, yes.
CJ McMahon?
Yeah. Well, we had the jockey fight joke.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see who's riding that one. All right, we got this one going. Oh shit!
He's on the one or not?
Yeah. Right on the first race, first horse. Yeah. It'd be really helpful for this show if I had my PPs up. So give me 1 second to do that. I'm telling you, that construction thing, it just threw me all off.
Threw you off, man.
It's not ready.
All right.
Cool. All right, you ready, sir?
Let's do it.
3, 2. All right, kicking off the late pick 4 sequence of Sam Houston on Saturday, January 9th, race 7 on the card. This is going to be an interesting one, Mike. This is a maiden special weight, open maiden special weight, 6 furlongs, field of 8 3-year-old males in here. Your even money favorite is the number 1 Vegas guy on the rail, and this horse, based off of class, he's coming out of Keeneland and Churchill Downs Sprints. He's coming from a Super Juice barn for Robertino Diodoro. Lot to like here. His worst buyer matches whatever the second best number in the field is, what their career best is. So a lot to like. No idea who's riding the horse because CJ McMahon kind of got in trouble for trying to kill some folks. So he's not allowed to ride Sam Houston. They told him, no, thank you. Please don't come here. So assuming there's anybody that can go into this, though, it's a Diodoro horse. If it was juiced for McMahon, it'll be juiced for anybody. So the real question I have is this horse is at even money, is going to be sub-even money, definitely. Can he lose? And if so, how does he lose, and who's the one to do it?
Okay, so you think that this is going to be the post-time favorite?
I still do.
Okay.
And I know who you're going to lead to, but I still think this will be the post-time favorite, yeah.
I think the most interesting horse in the race, I am using the one. The one is my top pick. The one is a must-use for me. The most interesting horse in this race, the horse that I'm most interested in seeing running, I should say, is the 8 horse, Bear Bryant. We talked a little bit about this horse before we even saw this, and I actually made my picks before I saw the morning line, then re-handicapped after the morning line as well. I thought Bear Bryant would be the morning line favorite. I was expecting this horse to go off as the favorite. I still wouldn't be shocked if the 8 goes off as the favorite. The 8 Bear Bryant is by Tiz Now in a $300,000 purchase by Stone Street Stables out of the Steve Asmussen barn, who, by the way, is clicking off at around 20% with a first-time starter. This horse has back-to-back bullet workouts. I have a lot of questions about this horse, and I'm not going to use this horse in my pick 4 because what the hell is this horse doing debuting as a 3-year-old at Sam Houston for $36,000? But I expect this horse to take a ton of money. It's one of the reasons I actually like this sequence is because I think this horse is going to take a lot of dead money, to be honest with you. So I am going to go with the 1, but the only other horse, I'm going to go 2 deep here, and I'm going to use the 3 horse, Burns DeBoss. Horse is 92 on the morning line. Todd Fincher is one of those trainers who is very good that a lot of people have not heard of. He's about 20% overall. He's getting Kennedy to ride, who's one of the better riders in the circuit. 25% first-time starters. His ROI is not wonderful at $1.86, but that 25% definitely stands out. This horse was bought for $20,000 off its $15,000 stud fee and has a solid workout tab going back 5 or 6 workouts. I like the 59 workout at Zia. I think this horse has a chance to run. I don't love the inside draw for Vegas guy who hasn't always shown a ton of speed, is taking the blinkers off and is adding Lasix. First chance to have it because it's a 3-year-old, but is still adding Lasix. It's something interesting to look at. Gulfstream today, for instance, the second or the third to last race was a 3-year-old allowance race. Everyone who added Lasix ran poorly. The one horse who didn't, who won without Lasix as a 2-year-old, went on and won as a 3-year-old without Lasix. So it's interesting to see who will run well with and without Lasix, because it's almost adding this new variant into the overall process. So if a horse who's 3 years old is running early in January without Lasix, who'd broken its maiden without Lasix and doesn't add, I think that's actually a positive for that horse, because it means that they really like what the horse is doing without the medication. So I'm interested to see, anyway, it's a whole nother thing. Anyway, I'm interested to see what the 3 horse does. I think that's the better of the 2 first-time starters, not only from a talent perspective, but probably from a value perspective. And to be honest, I'm willing to let Atchison beat me with this 8 horse, which is something you have to be willing to do at Sam Houston if you're looking for bigger payouts. You have to be able to fade Atchison sometimes. I think this is a good example. I think a lot of people will go too deep with the 1-8. I'm going to try and be a little contrarian and go too deep with the 1-3.
Yeah, we saw a lot of these races very similarly. We saw this one exactly the same. I had a Vegas guy on top, and I said Burns DeBoss is who I want. I knew about the 8 because right after we got off the show, you and I stuck around and talked for a little bit, and you told me about this Asmussen horse, and you're like, and this is the Asmussen horses that you try and beat at Sam Houston to make good money. So I already went into that thinking I was going to beat that horse. I was trying to figure out who could beat the rail, and I think the 3 has the best shot. You made great points. I'll yes and that. Street Boss, 15% with first-time starters is really strong. The national average is around 11%, so really strong numbers for Street Boss there. This horse is also a half to Mucho Amor, who won her debut race at age 2. She also won a dirt sprint stakes at age 3, so there's plenty of talent on the dam side, especially for showing up here at Sam Houston. And I think between the 1 and the 8, we're going to get really good value on this horse that we probably shouldn't elsewhere, because as you talked about, Todd Fincher is really good at first-time starters, really great at the maiden special weight, and you're getting a really good jockey for the circuit in Ty Kennedy. So I'm fully with you on board with these 2 horses. Let's talk a little bit more about the 8, because we both said we want to try and beat him, but let's really dive into that because you and I both have lots of questions. First of all, $300,000 horse making his debut at Sam Houston. Okay, that's weird. But then look where this horse had been training. Was at Keeneland in May and June training, and then misses a few months. So something went wrong. Shows up training on turf at a training center, stays there until September, and then disappears until November. Now he's at Fairgrounds. Okay, he's at Fairgrounds for 3. Then he misses a workout. Now he shows up at Louisiana Downs. Bullet work. Misses a work. Bullet work. And now we're at Sam Houston. What? Why? Why are you sending this horse all over the place? On top of that, for me, Tiz now 7% with first-time starters. His horses get better as they get older. I know that for a fact. So, I want nothing to do with this. I'll take it back to you though.
It's literally like this horse is getting demoted, right? I mean, it's like it's going. You think about baseball, and you got single A ball, double A ball, triple A ball, the majors. Well, if you think about Asmussen's barn and where his best horses run. He started at Keeneland, which really is the majors. So they thought this horse was something. They paid $300K for him. I would hope that he's something too. Then he drops down and they take him to Fairgrounds, which, okay, that's still a place where you can go eventually through the Derby Trail and things like that. But then they drop him down to Louisiana Downs, and then they send him to Sam Houston. He kept going down the rungs from perspective of where Asmussen has his best horses. And so that tells me that this horse disappointed, and that turf workout is another problem for me. Like, that means they also weren't sure what this horse wanted, because he was performing so poorly on dirt. They're like, well, maybe it's turf. Like, let's throw that out there. And it wasn't, because then they sent him back onto the dirt. So there's just so many red flags in the workouts, where he's showing up, how this horse has been treated, why he wasn't on the track earlier. Like, because of all of those red flags, to me, this is a horse I'm willing to let beat me. And a lot of people will use this horse. And, if this horse is the one that knocks me out of the pick 6 and the pick 5 and the pick 4, then so be it. I feel like long-term leaving this horse off is the better decision.
Yeah, I'm with you. A couple questions in the chat. I saw Michael Myers, which, by the way, you lying son of a bitch, you told me you weren't going to make it for the show today, and I got sad. L1, if you see it on the forum, L1 like that means first-time Lasix. And in DRF, it's an L with it's a white L in a black circle. On Equibase, it's actually the letter M. Go figure that shit out, because, the M's that are in Lasix make sense. I don't know. And then also, Sophie Doyle is confirmed to be riding here all meet, as is Raylu Gutierrez from New York, which is going to come up later in a later race here. So a couple of bigger jockeys for this circuit are showing up. So we're both against the 8th Asmussen, which, by the way, was Stuart Elliott at Sam Houston, 52% together, better than a coin flip. So we'll see how that strategy moves on to the next race, race 8. This is a field of 7 males, 4 and up, going 6 furlongs on the main track. Optional claimer, non-winners, 2 other than. And your favorite is going to be the number 4, Verrazano First, an Illinois bred for Carl Broberg, riding a 4-race win streak. 9-5. That's pretty tough to take for a horse that hasn't broken an 80 buyer. Made my ticket, definitely not on top. What about you?
Yeah, made my ticket as well, but I went another direction with the horse on top. I think that the 8-1 6-horse Gold Crusher is where you got to look here. This horse is coming out of back-to-back stakes races at Emerald Downs. Okay, maybe not like the top tier track, but we're still talking about $40,000 stakes races. 2 of them were not state-bred races, and the last 2 races specifically were going a mile and a 16th. I don't think this horse wants a mile and a 16th. So I'm willing, and even then, the horse won one of those and ran 5th in the other. So even then, it was still impressive. So I thought that the 4 Gold Crusher, cutting back in distance, is going to have a nice edge over this field. Has been successful running at Golden Gate in a $50,000 allowance, which a starter allowance, but still an allowance. Was in a 50K race at Emerald Downs as a 3-year-old. So they have thought very highly of this horse every step of the way. I think this is a pretty severe drop in class. And going back to sprinting, which is what the horse wants to do. And because of that, 8-1 on the 6-horse, I think is a great price. Frank Lucielli is a trainer who does very well in that Emerald circuit, very good off the claim, very good at shipping horses. So no worries there. And you get Luzia, who was one of the leading jockeys last year. So I like the connections. I like the cut back. I like the class drop. I think this is a good fit. And I like the return to sprinting, where this horse has done very good work.
Yeah, this horse was my second choice. Definitely, I wasn't at first. I went and re-handicapped this race after I saw that last race. I was like, let me go back and look again, and I ended up bumping this horse up. I like the fact that they claimed this horse for $25,000 out of his maiden breaking effort. He's run protected ever since. The lowest he's gone is a $50,000 starter allowance, and that is a big difference. Especially at Golden Gate, which was maybe to take her too higher than Emerald Downs. You can split hairs on that. But Lucarelli is a West Coast-based trainer, as Mike is saying, who has sent a few horses to Sam Houston for this meet. So he's kind of targeting here, especially because Golden Gate is still a big question mark. He's like, well, let's go see what we can do at Sam Houston. I like this horse has good sustaining speed. You've got a lot of horses in here that look like they want to be on the front end. This is a 6-furlong sprint, so that makes sense. But this horse, if they all burn out, I think this horse is going to be able to have the stamina to keep going. I also think he runs better when he's not trying to get for the lead. And I think the big difference between the stakes 2-back that he won gate to wire and the one that he lost and fading well off to 5th, he got pressured in that spot. But if you look at his 6.5 furlong race in a stakes race, he was sitting off, almost won, got beat by a half length. Race prior to that, 5 furlongs on the turf at Golden Gate, sat off. I was able to get up there and get the win. So I think that ultimately this is going to set up well for him for a 6 furlong race. Put speed balls in front, sit just behind, and go past when they go. But if that ends up not happening, if there is not really as much of a speed duel as I think there is, I like the 3 JC's Nightcap to get the job done. This was my top pick. 7-2 odds. I got Sophie Doyle, grade 1 winning jockey, Sophie Doyle aboard. This horse is making his 4th start off of a layoff, and those last 4 starts have looked really strong. They tried to put him in the Texas Spread Stakes ranks. Didn't work out very well. Gave him some time off. He's come back and run very well 3 straight times. Losing Stuart Elliott to the Steve Asmussen barn, of course we are. They're 52% together. But 2 of this horse's 4 career wins have come going this distance. And also, I like this. The 2 times this horse ran an 87 buyer, which is going to be tremendous to beat this field, or could easily beat this field, I should say, was on the dirt going 6 furlongs. And a different time, 4th off the layoff. We're 6 furlongs on dirt, 4th off the layoff. Kind of a weird little thing, but I just really like this horse. What did you think about JC's Nightcap?
I looked at JC's Nightcap for a while. And I'm gonna rip it to shreds. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm sorry, man. Almost okay. So yes, 2 of the 4 career wins are at 6 furlongs. Horse is also 2 for 17 at 6 furlongs. So it's a positive and a negative there. And specifically, it's because this horse in the races that you're pointing to, the last 3 have all been at 5 and 5.5. You have a speed horse that likes going 5 and 5.5, whose best efforts have almost unilaterally been over turf or synthetic. So the race that you're referencing is an 87 buyer over synthetic. The 2 races of the 3 that since the layoff are both over turf. Now the 3rd one was very good, the 5.5, but that was against $25,000 claimers. You're taking quite a bit of step up in class. I'm not sure that you're going to get an easy lead going 22 and 3 in this race. And that's what that horse got in that race, to be able to then get pressed and hold on at Remington. So because of all of that, I'm concerned this horse is going to have distance struggles if it's going to want to get out to the lead. And I agree with you. I think there is quite a bit of speed in this race. And that's why I ended up leaving. That's why A, the 6 was my top pick. And B, I left off the 3 horse. I felt like the setup here was just not great for this horse. And that this horse probably wants 5 and probably wants turf. And is getting neither today. So that's why I ended up leaving the 3 horse off. The 4 horse was my other must use. Look, I respect the heck out of Karl Broberg when he reclaims. And that to me is a huge angle here. This horse was in the Broberg barn, won, was claimed out of it. He ends up going back in, dips in, claims the horse for $32,000, now runs it back in a $25,000 protected race. So for me, the fact that Broberg reclaims and protects, I think you almost have to use that horse as a must-use in that spot. So the 4 and the 6 are the 2 must-uses for me. I did find this race kind of difficult. How deep did you end up going here?
So the 4 was the last one, so I went 3 deep here.
Did you look at? So I actually liked the 5 quite a bit as well. I don't know if you looked at the 5 or not, but this was one of those plays for me where I specifically I do think there's a ton of speed. I want horses that are going to close, and the 5 horse is what is the best fall apart horse to me, where the horse is going to come from way off the pace, and I think has a good shot at picking up the pieces late and being able to run right by the speed. And I'm a little concerned. Like if you look at here's the thing. If you look back at some of these races, they're really nice races. So the race 3 back, yes, it was at 5 furlongs, but he came from off the pace. And that was an allowance, $32,000 allowance, non-winners of 1. I like that race quite a bit. This horse started its career at Ellis, Churchill, and Keeneland. So it started at a pretty high level before coming down here. And we're also later in the 4-year-old season. We're coming off a mile race, which I think the horse didn't want any bit of. But if you look at that 6 furlong race at Remington, last time or 2 times back, that's actually a sneaky good race. I mean, the horse was 9 lengths off the lead in last place at the half-mile point, ends up 4th. It broke slowly. It was able to rally. I think if you get that type of performance here, this horse could run up into the money and maybe pick him off right at the wire.
Yeah, my big issue with this horse is that I thought there was one race on here that produces a winning effort, and it's not supposed to rain, and that was a muddy, sealed, off-turf race that produced that 87 Beyer 3 back. So not only was it in the mud, which we're not going to have unless the weather completely changes, it also was against horses that were meant for the turf that decided to stay on for the dirt. And we talked about plenty of times about how turf horses do better on wet tracks. And so to me, that's why I stayed against this horse. I think that yes, this horse will come flying. I think this horse is just not going to be able to get the job done. I like the breeding though. Candy Ride out of Maria's Mons showing up here in Sam Houston was kind of interesting, especially not in for a tag.
Yeah, you understand why this horse started Ellis and Churchill and Keeneland. Like you can see from the breeding why that horse would start there. So that one's interesting. We didn't even mention the 2. I'm not going to use the 2. You're not going to use the 2. But talk about a horse that is surprised to show up. I mean, this came out of the Baffert barn, goes to the Atherton barn. Like it is a pretty nicely bred horse with the Unbridled Song out of a Milwaukee Broodmare, and has literally been done that same little downgrade through the different class levels. Last horse I'm going to use is the 7. Look, I don't love the 7. The 7 seems to be an effective horse that's going to come from just off the pace and has a couple races in the back races that will win this race. Specifically, the 1-2 back at Indiana where it runs an 87 Beyer, is able to come from just off the pace. I liked that. I didn't have anyone that I thought was going to be mid-tier, and I like having the 7, who I think is going to sit right behind the speed, get first run. I still like the 6 a little bit more, but I do think that 7 is going to be in a really good spot. So I'm going to end up going 4 deep here and go 4, 5, 6, 7.
I was back and forth between the 7 and the 4, and I'll be honest. Here was my internally. I went, well, the Asmussen horse is his best effort wins this race, and Steve Asmussen owns the horse. So you've talked before, when you've got a good trainer that owns the horse, is not going to put it in spots where this horse is going to be competitive because he's the whole Bill situation there. Yep. I think it's good class relief for this horse. Again, it's Stuart Elliott, Steve Asmussen, 52%. But then I thought, well, it's either that horse or do I think that Karl Broberg's juice is going to be especially strong when Sam Houston's meet first opens? I still don't know who's going to ride this horse because CJ McMahon's, too busy trying to kill folks. But, I'm going to still lean that Karl Broberg is going to have this horse juiced up and ready to fly no matter. I mean, I could be on the horse and he's going to be juiced to the moon. Plus this horse, 4 wins from 5 starts going this distance and a second at it. So that's where I landed. But the 7, it was kind of like this. It was the Broberg juice factor that pushed me over.
Unbelievable. I love it. No, I mean, look, Matt, you're just on one today.
It's Aaron's fault.
I expect that this horse is going to run. I expect you're going to see a very good effort from the 4 based on the reclaim and what that horse is going to do. So I would expect something nice there. And did I forget to mention, was one of these horses first as a 4-year-old too? I think it's the 6 horse. Is it the 6 horse? Yeah. Gold Crusher.
Yeah,
first
Gold
off
Crusher.
The layoff late. First off the layoff late in the 4-year-old season, which is an angle we talk about all the time, but I want to make sure I call it out because that is another reason why I think the 6 is going to take a step forward here.
Well, first off the layoff, start of the 4-year-old season.
It's first off the layoff late in the 4-year-old. They all just turned a year older. It's early in the season. Never mind.
The show when Mike realized it was a new year.
Yeah, come on. I'll make Slim's joke. They all had their birthday.
There you go. Yeah, no, it's fine. I bet that it's January 7th. I say that you have 2 weeks. Everybody's allowed a 2-week margin. When the year changes, you got 2 weeks to get of forgiveness.
There you
Just
go.
don't do this on the 15th.
Yeah. Oh God. I'll try my best.
We'll move on to the third leg of the late pick 4 sequence at Sam Houston on Saturday, January 9th. Race 9 on the card. You've got a field of starter optional allowance claimers, 8 of them 4 and up, going 5.5 furlongs on the dirt. Favoritism is going to be on the number 2, Onomatopoeia, with, hey, look who showed up, Raylu Gutierrez, 5-2 odds. The 3 onward, Stuart Elliott, Steve Asmussen. I think they might be good together. 3-1, second choice. The 7, Bourbon Cowboy, 7-2. I am such a chalk-eating weasel, Mike. I used the top 3 choices here. I'm sorry. I couldn't not do it. I'm sorry.
I don't blame you. All right, so quick Sam Houston aside thing here. Speed at 5.5. Like I tried last year to beat Speed at 5.5 and pick the closer that was going to come flying because there were 5 speed horses. Guess who wins at 5.5? The best of the 5 speed horses, not the closer. So for me, taking that into account, I did not use the 2. Who's going to be coming from way off the pace. And it shows that the horse is 2 for 4 at 5.5, but that's not completely true. One of those was at 5, and that was like a kind of crazy setup, and that was in a muddy track. And the other one was at where was it? 5.5, but it was over Lone Star breaking its maiden at $65,000 maiden claimers. So the wins for the 2 that are at this distance came on tracks that were muddy or weren't great, and they also were against a terrible level, where this is a little bit higher of a level and against winners. So I'm going to fade the 2 and try and beat the 2 here. My top pick is going to be the 7, Bourbon Cowboy. Look, this horse was running well, got claimed for back from the Scott Young barn, who's a very good trainer on this circuit, does well at Sam Houston, does well at Will Rogers. His top jockey is Weathery. So wherever he goes, if that jockey is there, if it is Young and Weathery, or Wethy, I think it's Wethy, that's what you want to end up playing. So they're a good combination. I like the progression the last 3 races where this horse has improved and improved and improved, and it shows some speed, able to come from off the pace. And oh, by the way, since they've already made their money back on this horse, you see slight drops in class as well. So we get a little bit of a class relief, and I think that this is a great shot here for the 7 to be able to sit right behind the speed. Because like I said, you need to be close, or you need to be a speed horse. This is the close horse, right? Who'll sit right behind the wall of horses, get first run, and I think has a very good shot at getting home at 7-2. So I'm going to put the 7 on top. I use the 3 as well. I'll let you talk about the 3 since you used them, and then I'll jump in on my other horse that I used.
So I'm with you on Bourbon Cowboy. I like this horse a lot. And it was the Young Wethy connection. I learned that from last year when we were doing Sam Houston, and then the year before that. I like that this horse is in the money, 26 of 44 starts. Listen, this is a starter allowance that you had to have run for $5,000 or less, or be in for a $10,000 tag. These aren't world beaters. So when a horse is consistently running well in the money like that, I like it. And you brought up other great points about this, being a nice little class settling spot. And who's going to try and claim this horse for $10,000? He's 9 years old now. No, you just put it in there. You get a few more good runs out of him, and then give him a happy retirement afterwards. The 3 onward, this was my top pick because I feel like I've cheated death twice trying to not use Asmussen Elliott. So the 3rd time's the charm. I'm going to put him on here. Asmussen claims this horse for $5,000, runs him back protected. That's the only race on this form that makes him even remotely close to qualify. This is a $600,000 son of Street Sense, the only intact horse in this field, freshly turned 4-year-old. I love this horse. I love that he is coming back to this level because I think Asmussen saw that he was in for $5,000, was like, I'm going to be sneaky here. And he tags him, owns the horse, brings him in, runs him back protected. One thing that we have talked about Steve Asmussen a lot on this show that we were not able to say about the 2 prior Asmussens, the 3 furlong tightener before a race, and that's what he put into Onward. He loves to do that with horses that he thinks have a really strong chance to win. He put a 3 furlong tightener in this horse a few days ago. He's going to be sharp. He's got Stuart Elliott on him. My only concern, and maybe it was for you, that big win that he got, was it the class drop to $5,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime? Or was it that he was on synthetic and he just seemed to like that? So that's the little bit of concern there. But other than that, I love this horse here.
Yeah, I mean, look, the $600,000 horse going for $5K isn't a great thing either. That's a pretty cheap tag if you paid $600,000 for the horse. It's not exactly a positive. You're a little bit in the red there.
But by the way, the ownership, it was Claiborne Farm and Dill Schneider, also Jump Sucker Stable. There's a lot of jokes to be made about spending $600,000 on a horse, losing him for $5,000, and your name's Jump Sucker.
Yeah, not great. But like you said, the fact that Steve Asmussen claimed this horse and now running the horse back protected, there's a lot to like in that sense. So I do think that Onward's one of those that you have to use here. I really struggled with two separate horses as my third horse on the ticket. I ended up with the one Cocoa Tiger, who's going to be inside speed, was able to win at Prairie Meadows at 5.5, which is a track where you have to be speed, you have to be fast to be able to get the lead. Sophie Doyle was on that day. You're getting Sophie Doyle to ride today. I like the fact that we're back into a barn, the Greg Tracy barn, where this horse ran really, really well. And I think that's definitely a good sign. I'm not overly concerned about the last race specifically because it was on turf. So I'm interested here, this horse getting back onto dirt at a level that it fits. This is actually going to be the lowest level it's ever been at in its career. So also a positive there. I think this is your horse that gets the lead. I think it's going to be tough to catch this horse at 5.5. That's why I ended up on the 1. The other horse I looked at for a long time was the 6 horse Boston Repo. And this one just missed the ticket. This is a Broberg at 10-1 who has back races that are good enough to win this race and is 5 for 11 at the distance. So if you are looking for, if you want to single the one in the first leg, the 6 horse would be one I would definitely include here if I had more of a budget to do it.
So I did add the Cocoa Tiger, the rail horse, at the last second because at first I was like, man, there's a lot of speed in here on the rail. And then I looked at the speed figures for him. I was like, you know what? This horse just might, if Cocoa Tiger breaks cleanly, Sophie's, is going to send him.
Yep.
He might just squirt free and then nobody touches him. So I ended up adding him, the last horse on, for that reason. The 6, I didn't use because this is a very un-Broberg type move where he claims a horse for $25,000 out of a horse winning and getting a 77 buyer, and the horse never touches 77 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 starts since then. What happened there, Broberg? You haven't figured out the concoction yet? And then the best races that he's had, they were against Louisiana breds. And I don't know that that's going to transfer that well here. To me, that's comparable if he was facing Texas breds. So I might be wrong on that one. I just didn't think that he had it there. But you didn't obviously use him either, but you were toying with it. There is at least value there. Broberg at 10-1. There is value. You're not going to see that very often.
No, I mean, it's second time out. It's a speed horse going 5.5. There are reasons to like this horse, and I do think it's worth at least mentioning that, like I said, if you do want to single the 1 in the first leg and leave off the first time start of the 3, which I think is probably the most logical single in the sequence, the horses like the 6 horse here are ones that I would consider adding onto the ticket.
Let's move on to the 4th and final leg at Sam Houston on Saturday, January 9th, the race that made me just go, whoo, no thank you. Race 10, maiden special weight for Texas-bred fillies and mares 4 and up. 13 of them in here because we got a coupled entry, 1-1A. Favoritism is on the number 2, Catch the Devil at 5-2 here. Mike, I went 4 deep. I have very little reason for why I picked a lot of these horses, so I'll let you talk first.
You ready?
I'm ready.
The winner of this race is the 3 horse Bubble Line, 15-1. I'm telling you. Look at the back races here. We're gonna paint a picture of a winning horse that you get to in these type of races. This horse has been running in open company, so this is the first time this horse is facing state bred. The horse has shown speed at higher levels, runs at a mile at Remington in a $20,000 maiden claimer. Horse doesn't want a mile. Don't worry about the mile race. Drops down to 7,500, gets snapped up by a trainer who's 29% off the claim. Runs a terrible buyer, but wait. He was shielded, bumped, and clipped heels in that race. Every excuse in the world for why he didn't run very well at that level at 2-1. The last 2 were also the only 2 efforts with blinkers. We're peeling the blinkers off for a better barn, facing state bred, getting back to sprinting. His buyers actually fit at this level. You're getting 15-1, and Quinones, who's a very good jockey. Let's go.
It actually was pretty good. I was trying to do what Dennis did. Dennis said I'm just going to close my eyes and imagine the picture. And I was starting to do that, and I was like, wait, I'm on camera. I can't do it. You said for 3, and I'll be honest, I just went, okay, I got an open mind. Screw it. I hate every horse in this race. Tell me about the 3.
It's one of those horses where, I could be totally wrong. Obviously, it's horse racing. You never know with this type of thing. But this horse shouldn't be 15-1. This horse should be 7-2. This horse has been bet in almost every single race. It's taking off the blinkers. So you go back to the races where it wasn't wearing blinkers. It was facing open company, $29,000 or $85,000 maiden special weight at Oakland Park in Remington. And the horse was running, low 40s, high 30s, 150 buyer. All of that fits with your favorites here. And you're getting 15-1. You're getting a better barn. You're getting a good jock. To me, this is one of those horses. It's speed too. So, if this horse gets brave and gets to the lead, which this horse was third, 3 lengths back in a maiden special weight at Oakland Park. like this horse has enough speed to get to the lead if they try. I think a horse wants to sprint, and 15-1 is a good price. I'm also going to use the first time starter of the 10, Turnin' and Burnin', out of the Danny Pish barn. This is another one where this is the best of the first time starters in my mind. Pish is fairly good first time out, 17%, but that $3.86 ROI is what caught my eyes. There's not much in this race. So I generally gravitate toward horses that are first time starters or that I can make a good case and a bunch of excuses for, like the 3 Bubble Line. Well, Turnin' and Burnin' to me is that horse that you can kind of make that excuse for. Also, owner Ryan Turnin'. I'm gonna go a little bit on the outside of but when usually the owner or the trainer use their name in the horse, it's a good sign. So I'm gonna go ahead and say this Turnin' and Burnin' is just tipping its toe over that line of that angle. So I think it's at least worth mentioning. You also get Luzzy up again, who's one of the better jockeys on the circuit and one of Pish's go-to guys when he's got a good horse. So the 3 and the 10 were my 2 must-uses here.
Yeah, the 10 made my ticket. Was the next up. I had 2 must-uses ahead, but definitely going to use the 10. Let's talk about the 2 horses I used over him. I'll start with the 2, Catch the Devil, who's going to be breaking from the rail because of the coupled entries here. The last 3 races were all on turf, but a 60, 62, 60 buyer, you're going to blow this field out of the water, dude. And that was open maiden special weight and was leading until the end in a mile race on the turf. So I think now cutting back to sprint, Mike Neatherland's barn is 17% doing route to sprint. I think that's helpful with the jockey whose name Valdez Jimenez. Boy, the 11% with a nice ROI there. I hate the 5-2, but and a lot of it's because of those buyers. But they came against open company, which is the same angle you were using with the 3 to help you. So I love the 2 there, and then I also thought that the 4 was a must-use. My Golden Bling, again, I hate that I'm using the chalk on top, but 7-2 morning line, don't love that, but this horse was in a maiden 20 open, then moved up to maiden special weight, now dropping back down to the maiden special weight for the state bred for the first time since the debut. And if you're willing to forgive a horse for not running on its debut, I think this horse fits. I also liked it in that Remington Park 5.5 furlong open maiden 20 race. The top 2 finishers came back to win their next start. So even though this horse was beaten considerably in that spot, at least there seems to produce something there. Also, the barn has really good stats. Austin Gustafson, I haven't heard too much about him yet if he's on the up and up, but he's 24% last year, 25% in sprints, 26% in dirt, 24% turf to dirt. So there's a lot to like here. Plus, we're getting Reylu Gutierrez, who's not facing any Ortizes, Rosarios, or Velasquez's here.
He's the best. He's going to be very effective on the circuit. It's interesting seeing some of the jockeys that have chosen to spend the winter down at Sam Houston because it's a lot more competitive of a jockey colony than what we saw last year. Not knocking what was there last year, just you have 2 or 3 injections of real talent down there. It's going to be interesting to see if they're going to be able to have big meets and who they ride for. Because we mentioned, Scott and Withry and you have Elliott and Asmussen. You have some of these combinations that are just locked in stone. So where they're able to get mounts is going to be an interesting thing as well. I use both the 2 and the 4. The 4 was actually my next up, so my 3rd pick in the race. The 2 is a classic defensive use to me. Look, you're right. The buyers the last 3 are head and shoulders above these horses, the 60, 62, and 60. They were also on the turf. And so that, like you said, is just something that I'm not in love with. If you look back at the dirt buyers, you're looking at 38, 37, 24, and 40. All of which are worse than my 3 horses buyers. And you're getting, this horse is going to go off at 6-5, maybe 7-5. I mean, this horse is going to get hammered, hammered. And I think is a really weak favorite in this spot because everything you're seeing is a horse that has shown speed, but only really on the turf, only really going longer, who's now breaking from the rail and doesn't have any dirt, doesn't have any proven dirt talent. So if you see this horse break poorly or not be able to get out as fast, I think that you're in a lot of trouble here. So be interesting to see what the 2 Catch the Devil is able to do out of the gate. I'm going to use a 5th horse here. This is kind of Mike's taking a little bit of a swing. I'm going to go to the 6 horse Jan's Tap and Go, simply because we haven't seen this horse since February of 2020. You're almost off a full year layoff. And yeah, the Caldwell barn, not great. 0 for 9 in this type of sequence. So I'm not saying hey, take a big swing here, but when I look at these races, one of the reasons I like the 4, it's lightly raced. You have a chance for more upside. Same thing with the 6 here. This horse only had 2 races. And if you look at those 2 races, it whiffed on the break in both of them. Yep. And then they gave the horse a year off to be able to get time. If this horse breaks, there could be some real talent here. And we're only seeing a 3rd start. We're seeing first off a long layoff. I think you have a lot of different ways to look at this here to say, okay, if I'm looking at all these horses and I kind of know what some of these horses are, like I have no interest in the 7, the 1A, the 1 and 1A aren't interesting to me. The 9's not interesting to me. The 8's not interesting to me. Who could take a step forward? For me, the 6 horse is the one that's kind of the illogical improvement angle because we just aren't sure what the horse has when it breaks. And if it does break, and it ran with interest in its first race, especially if it does break, I think that the horse could have some talent, and 10-1 is not a bad line. I think this horse floats up on race day as well and could pop off the layoff.
Well, and I'll yes and that. I didn't use this horse, but what caught my attention is I thought you were going here. This is a horse that we haven't seen since February 2020, so 11 months off. She's co-owned by her breeder. If they didn't think this horse actually was going to win, they would have bred her. She wouldn't be racing right now. I mean, there's a very slight chance that they bred her and just are going to race her for a few months until she can't. I've seen that happen before, but you would think with her breeder co-owning her that if they were just like, nah, let's try again with the babies, that you would have just bred her and just, saved yourself the hassle in risking running her, right?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I didn't even notice that. That's a good call. And the fact that they're sending her back out on the track is definitely a sign that they think she can run. And those first two races, they're not terrible. Like, she ran out and she closed some ground.
She didn't quit. Yeah.
First time out, and she missed the break. She was 11th at the quarter, a quarter into the race. I mean, you have to pretty much walk out of the gate to be 11 lengths back 20 seconds into a race. So, to me, I think that the 6 has a little bit more talent than you're seeing in those two efforts. The fact that they bring her back after this long layoff, I think shows that she might be able to pop if she's able to break. So workouts haven't been great, but the one out of the gate wasn't terrible. Hopefully that the gate schooling here helps her a little bit, and she's able to run well at a 10-1 price.
Find me a Texas spread with workouts. You'd be like, those are great.
Yeah.
The last bet or the last entry I'm using is I'm going to use the coupled entry, but with one condition, that the 1A stays in the race, Tahitian Breeze. This is me playing based off of the 1A. I like Wes Hamilton. He was a pretty good book jockey last year for a while and the year before that. But this is really, I don't know Texas breeding at all. I looked into the Stallions. Too much bling, 15% with first-time starters. I was like, yeah. That's pretty good. 15-1, that's a good value. I don't like anything else really on the page there, but I like 15% with the first-time starter and getting 15-1. I don't like the one horse, the Heavenly Rhythm. So if the 1A ends up scratching, I promise you I will replace with the 3 because you did a very good job of convincing me.
Yeah, Too Much Bling is one of the top sires in Texas. Some of the big sprint stakes, you'll see Too Much Bling in quite a bit. It also has the 11-horse Classy Bling here, I'm not using. I don't think you're using either. I thought the 1 was a little interesting. So it's interesting that you're saying that's the one you don't want. I thought the 1 was more interesting than the 1A. So I don't hate your play of the coupled entry there. 12-horse is probably the other horse we should talk about. Expect Halo, 8-1 morning line. This to me is the other first-time starter you could use. But Pearson's 7% in 2020, and he's 0 for 4 with first-time starters. He generally just doesn't have a lot of first-time starters, and so for me, because of that, I wanted to see this horse run into shape a little bit. It might be one I'm interested in a couple down the line. Horse has a bullet workout at Hawthorne going 3 furlongs, but then the 53 at Sam Houston, not exactly a great number. So I'm going to pass on the 12, especially with that outside post. But I do think that that's one that's going to take some money here as well.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Mike and I go through our tickets one last time. If you are watching live or the replay on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, however, thank you for joining us. Give us a like, a thumbs up, and then check below. We got the tickets right down there. I will start off with my 50-cent ticket. I'm going 1-3 with 3-4-6 with 1-2-3-7 with 1-1-A 2-4-10. That's a $48 ticket. Mr. Samich.
I'm going to go 1-3 with 4, 5, 6, 7 with 1-3-7 with 2, 3, 4, 6, 10 for 50 cents. That'll cost you $60.
We got to really hope that those that the Super Juice barns aren't running too strong. This is going to be a really chalky pick for otherwise.
Well, it'll be interesting, man. I think there's a couple bad favorites. I think the 2 in the last isn't a great favorite. I think that the 1 is beatable by that 3 horse in the first. If we can get around a couple of those, it could pay nicely. This is one, too, if you really want to press. I think that you could take some stands and press. I mean, I might end up playing a $5 ticket here with the 3 in the last and just hope that I am right about that angle, because that would be a way to inject value into it no matter what happens in the first races going into it.
All right. And then if you missed this at the start of the show, Mike, go ahead and tell people again what's happening Friday night tomorrow, January 8th on the Racing Dudes channel.
Yeah, we're having Blinkers Off After Dark Degenerate Hour. I'm pretty excited about it. We're going to talk about the NFL wildcard games, all 6 of them, as well as Sam Houston from 10 to 11 o'clock tomorrow night, 10, 11 p.m. Eastern. So the Sam Houston Pick 4s, they start late. I don't know if you realize this, but this one on Saturday night is actually going to start at 9:27 Central or 10:27 Eastern. So the late start time here for these pick fours, so that we'll be able to go over the pick four live around 10 o'clock, then jump into talking about some of the football games as we wait for the races to go over at Sam Houston. So it should be a good time. Be live on the Blinkers Off channel on YouTube, and then there'll eventually be a podcast with it as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to join for that one. We'll see. I might end up just producing in the background. There's a lot
early for you, man.
Well, there's a lot of personalities there, and sometimes I think I'm just going to do the Homer Simpson into the bushes, and I'll just produce in the background. But it'll be fun otherwise. So if you guys bring your comments, it'll be interactive. I'm pretty sure at least 3/5 of the team will be drinking or drunk or otherwise inebriated. So bring your questions, bring your fun. We will see you guys then. Mike and I'll be back on Monday, 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific, to talk about our tickets, hopefully our winning tickets together, and we'll talk about the week ahead. Until then, thanks for watching. I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this weekend.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.